I got tired when we started here of IT departments being known as the Department of No. That's not how we're supposed to do things, and it's no longer no, we can't do that. It's what are you actually trying to accomplish, and how can we help you accomplish that?
In the world of technology, heroes are everywhere. They're overcoming disruption, delivering sustainable outcomes, and fearlessly forging the future to solve what's next. Join me, Ed McNamara, as we meet the people and businesses driving change in our constantly disruptive world. This is Innovation Heroes, a podcast brought to you by SHI. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Innovation Heroes. Quick reminder, you can now watch us on YouTube, or you can continue to watch us on YouTube if you are right now, or listen in on your favorite podcast platforms. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to stay updated. Today, we're diving deep into new lands to find our innovation hero, one who resides in the public sector. So Merriam-Webster defines public sector as, quote, the part of an economy which is controlled or owned by the government. But public sector is a massive place, especially when you include the federal government, which is roughly 8 times the size of Walmart. Today, we're narrowing that definition down to the part of the economy that is controlled at the county level. And within the 50 United States of America, there are about 3,000 different county governments who don't get anywhere near the same headlines or attention we give Fortune 500s or Silicon Valley startups. You know, you might think of the show Parks and Recreation, whenever you think of local government, but trust me, it's full of heroes. They are the ones who make things happen, and the feats these IT leaders have to pull off, frankly, are inspiring. If you appreciate things like running water, electricity, elections, paved roads, law enforcement, a functional court system, libraries, crazy stuff. You have your county government to thank for it, and probably the county's IT department for supporting it and making it happen. So on today's show, I get to sit down with Micah Hassinger. He's the Director of Information Technology in Passaic County, New Jersey. A friend and a partner to SHI, every time I speak with Micah, I find myself in awe of the juggling act he and his team do in order to succeed. I can't wait to find out what lessons Micah has for the rest of us today as we drive forward on digital transformation. Micah, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. Good to be here with you.
Absolutely. So I might ask this first question and then go take a break because you might be going for a while. But can you tell us about Passaic County and the role IT plays in what that county provides?
Yeah, sure. The Passaic County, we're a county in northern New Jersey, and it's a very, very diverse county. There are areas, very rural areas within Passaic County. There are very not so rural areas within Passaic County. And what the county IT department is responsible for is county administration IT. There's also a sheriff's department IT that does all the sheriff's department things, but we're responsible for all of the other county departments. And one of the ways that Passaic County is unique is we have a fiber optic network that stretches through the entire county and attaches all of our municipalities back to the prosecutor's office, which creates challenges, but it does offer us a ridiculous amount of expansion capability, other things. That's just one of the ways that Passaic County IT is a little unique compared to other county divisions, but we assist greatly in just making sure that all of the county departments function as smoothly as possible, that the users have the latest in technology, maybe not the greatest because we do have budgets to keep in mind, but make sure that they can function, in a way that the citizens of Passaic County expect them to.
I find it sometimes hard to describe all the things that SHI delivers to customers. My cocktail party answer is we're the pharmacists of IT, and that usually gets me out of the question, which is what I'm looking to do at a cocktail party. But how do you describe what it is you do, in layman's terms?
Well, it depends on whether I want the conversation to continue or not, honestly. When sometimes, when you're away, people ask what you do. Well, I'm a gym teacher because that's a good way to just get out of the question.
Absolutely. Al Bundy's wife used to say he was a garbage man. Remember that?
Exactly. But how I describe it, what we do when people ask, it's funny because everybody knows they need an IT department, but a lot of people don't know why they need an IT department,
Right.
Because the thing about a well-functioning IT department is if it seems like you don't need them because it doesn't seem like they're doing anything, right? Because everything in IT is functioning normally, as you know. But then if things start going haywire and nothing works in IT, you have the same question. Well, why do I have an IT department if everything is going haywire? So it's here in Passaic County we have a relationship with all of the department heads that they know how important IT is to their operation, right? But it's it can be hard for some of my colleagues to get that point across because again, sometimes somebody comes in and says, "What do we need IT for?" Okay, you know what? Go for 2 weeks without us. Tell me how it works out for you. You know, it's we keep what I tell people is we keep the lights blinking and the buzzers buzzing. That's what we do.
Right. Like the offensive lineman, you only notice when something's wrong, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you mentioned all those different department heads, and you work with so many different kinds of people in departments. They have all different levels of digital literacy. What's that like, and how do you balance all of that?
It can be a challenge because one of the things I tell our guys, our staff, is that we're not when you take your car to a mechanic, right? You don't expect your mechanic to show you how to drive, right? You
Right.
expect your mechanic to fix things. That's what we do. We're the mechanics, right? So sometimes we'll get contacted by maybe an employee who has been with the county for 30 years, and asking this person to generate a formula in Excel is like asking a goldfish to fly the space shuttle, right? It's not gonna happen, right? But we try not to set a precedent with training, but we do offer all of the county employees now have access to. I don't mind I hope you don't mind if I plug it, Ed. The SHI training portal, which
Plug
has been
away. Yeah.
I love it, which has been very handy because we're at a spot now with county employees where we can say things like, okay, well, why don't you go here and it'll show you how to do it. The old saying, teach a man to fish, and send them there. And that way, when they have their next question, they know exactly where to go to get that answer. It's been really handy.
That's great to hear. Thinking of the reference before to Parks and Recs, the TV show, is it kind of like that a little bit? We're just envisioning all these warring factions and dramas between departments. How do you, what's your place, and how do you get along with some of the other groups that you're tasked with supporting?
Yeah, it's funny because you try not to be the middle child, in the relationship. But some on occasion, Department A will ask something of Department B, and Department B will say, "Well, that's IT's problem," and IT says, "No, it's not. Call Department A." It goes round and around. But in the last, especially post COVID, we have great relationships with all of our department heads. We've established some guidelines so that if you and we're gonna I don't mean to jump the gun here, Ed, but if you want something and it seems like it's IT related, contact IT. And maybe we have it already. Maybe someone else has purchased it. I got tired when we started here of IT departments being known as the Department of No. That's not how we're supposed to do things, and it's no longer no, we can't do that. It's what are you actually trying to accomplish, and how can we help you accomplish that, right? Because if you're the Department of No, you're not going to be a department anymore for very long, right? So we have a good relationship. Funny anecdote: another department, we were doing Friday afternoon shenanigans with this department, right? And they decided that one of the great shenanigans, we'll show those IT guys, we'll have a typing contest with the IT department, and we'll school them. And they weren't thinking. What do we do all day? We type. What's wrong with you? I have a typing contest with the IT department. It's like playing baseball with the Yankees. What are you thinking? Don't do that.
Exactly.
Right? So they went home to their respective offices, weeping. I'm not sorry for that, Ed.
Absolutely. I'm just envisioning the IT guys were typing, but before 8th grade was over, and just absolutely taking them to task. That's great.
Yeah. What's wrong with you? What are you doing that for? Don't do that.
So we've been talking about public sector, and the Department of No. I love your attitude. You can't just say no. You have to offer an alternative, because if you say no, they're gonna try to get around you anyway, right? So you might as well be involved, like, right from the beginning.
Yeah, and and it's better to say not that instead of no. What are you trying to accomplish? What is your end goal, right? Because sometimes the back roads aren't the best way to get to a destination. Sometimes you need a highway, right? Maybe we have a highway and you can ride that highway, and it's going to cost you a lot less. So it's been there's been some growing pains with that. It's some department heads in the past have been like, well, this is just how we've always done it. And not anymore. This is how we do it now, so that this system will work. But not only will the system work, but we can repair this system when it doesn't work, because we know what you have. It's been very helpful.
And we're talking to you as our public sector IT hero. What are some of the challenges that you face that other CIOs, especially in the private sector, probably don't? Like, what challenges do you face that they don't? And maybe I'm wrong. Are there any advantages?
Yeah, so there's both advantages and disadvantages, of course, as with everything. And we can't be bleeding edge here in Passaic County, but it's that way for governments everywhere, right? We just don't have the budget. There is no taxpayer dollars set aside for failure, right? It doesn't work that way. So we have to be fairly certain that every project we enter into is going to succeed. And as a result, we need to be very familiar with these things before we do them, right? So sometimes we contact other counties in our area and we ask them how they've resolved certain issues to help us, to point us in the right direction. And that's, I'd say, one of the benefits of being in government is we have 21 counties in the state of New Jersey. And when you talk to other county IT professionals, they have a lot of the same problems that we have, right? And we've fixed things certain ways, they've fixed things certain ways, but having those meetings and discussions helps us to take all of these things, all of these solutions, put them together and come up with the best solution. The best solution, not just for the technical aspect, but also the best solution that is fiscally most responsible, right? Because nobody wants to hear that they spent $5 on anything that failed, because tax dollars are at a premium.
Absolutely. And I like how you say you go and are seeking out the folks who are working at other counties, because is there a bit of a kinship, at the county level? Because there's not really a lot. There's 3,000 counties across the U.S., but some of them, I would venture, don't have a computer at all in them, in some of our rectangular states, right? But there's not a whole ton of people who are supporting exactly the type of environment that you are, is there?
Yeah, and it's the states as well can be, and I never worked in county government outside of the state of New Jersey yet, so this is me speaking out of ignorance, and you probably shouldn't do that, right? But there are certain budgetary restrictions that the state of New Jersey has that probably Wisconsin does not have. So California might be able to do one solution, but I cannot here in Jersey. Capital versus operating expenses, and how you're not that you can ever have an unlimited capital budget, but how it's easier to have a capital expense than it is to have an operating expense, and you have to balance all that out. But when we talk amongst ourselves in Jersey, New Jersey, I'm sorry, we have these same problems, and we know how to resolve them, because others have resolved them, so it's helpful. But there are some drawbacks as well, in that when an employee comes to the county from private sector, they're not necessarily familiar with how things function in government. We're kind of a step behind. I did it this way when I worked at Merck Pharmaceuticals.
Right.
They were great. We're not making drugs here. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's we don't have that kind of money. So it's those growing pains. We had one user, it was great. one user, it was something stupid to it. It was, why don't I have a wireless mouse? This is obsolete that there's a wire on my mouse.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Does it work? It's stupid stuff like that. It's getting the user to, you want a wireless mouse, you go to CompUSA, you buy yourself a wireless mouse. I'm done. But stuff like that is setting the bar. Look at the bar's lower here. It's just a different bar.
Right.
It's making sure that users know that.
I want the email inbox of somebody who's coming to you with a complaint about a wireless mouse. That's what I want.
Ed, I'll give you another. So just I'm sorry to digress here.
Let's do it. Come on.
I had it in another life when I was more working the police dispatch side in IT there, just to show you the level of IT experience that a lot of these users have. They had on the floor foot pedals for a radio, right? That's to key up that radio. Worked really well. We set up new PCs. We replaced old dumb terminals with brand new Windows PCs, set them up in dispatch. It was great. First thing the user did is she took the mouse, she put it on the floor. What in the world? And I asked her, why'd you do that? Well, I figured you guys put the pedal in the wrong place, so I just moved it to the floor. Right. Well, if you want to operate the mouse with your foot, you go nuts.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Well, that's the kind of thing when, you have users who've never sat at a PC before. You run into issues you never thought you would have to resolve.
Right. And I guess another issue, I think you said that your sheriff's department is separate, but so let's use them as an example because you won't get in any trouble, right? So I'm curious that how you go about from a management perspective, managing IT assets for departments that don't report to you. So using a police department as an example, right? There's just a massive amount of IT to support. There's front and back office solutions. There's laptops and patrol cars. There's body cams, and then there's all the footage that needs to be, archived in somewhere, which is just a massive amount of data, But if they're not in your reporting structure, they have their own budgets. How do you find that line to keep them, efficient, keep them secure without any mandate or without any budgetary control?
It can be that could honestly, Ed, that can be tough because if you think about how it works in a county set up like we have, for example, cyber insurance, right? The county is insured for, against cyber attacks. Our cyber insurance policy covers not just the county proper, it also covers the sheriff's department, right? I'm the responsible one to fill out all that paperwork to say what we're doing and why and how, to make sure we jive with the rules from our cyber insurance providers. And now I have a division that has no obligation whatsoever to answer to me, right? Who I have to tell something like, well, you have to put multi-factor authentication in place. But whether you want to or not, you have to, because otherwise we lose our cyber insurance. That kind of thing has been difficult, and I wish I had an easy solution for it. But one of our best solutions came up fairly recently where a project had to fail. It did, because we weren't involved in the beginning in the project, assuming that certain pieces of hardware are capable of doing things because a salesman told you it was, right? A salesman his goal is to sell. That's why he's a salesman, right? So but it's the fact that we were brought in too late on this failed project has shown to the department that it's important to bring in early, and to make sure that the IT division is aware, to make sure that we can help before the money is spent. Let us review. Let us tell you if you're being hoodwinked, hornswoggled before you go down that road, and then go down the road. Did I answer your question there, Ed, or did I just go off?
You absolutely did, and kind of brought up a couple of others. I mean, there must be some politics involved too, because when a solution works, you must have every friend in the world who is who's pointing to that success, right?
Yeah,
gets lonely when something fails, doesn't it? Innovation Heroes is proudly produced by SHI, a leading global IT solutions provider dedicated to making life simpler for business and IT professionals. For over 30 years, we've bridged the gap between digital strategy and execution, delivering cutting-edge technology and services to thousands of customers worldwide. Whether you're navigating the cloud, strengthening cybersecurity, or transforming your workplace, SHI is here to help. To learn more, visit shi.com/solvewhat'snext. That's shi.com/solvewhat'snext to embrace the future with stress-free, scalable solutions that you and your people will love.
You're not lying. And it gets even lonelier like when you tell somebody, well, told you to call me beforehand.
So let's stick with the cybersecurity space for a second. We've had a previous conversation that, people see government as kind of soft target, and can you talk about how you're keeping the county safe and what's your goal and kind of your approach there?
Yeah, we've been fortunate, and hold on, I got wood I have to knock on now. We've been fortunate that our administration here in the county severely limits remote work, right? So that's a fairly large door for cyber attacks that we were able to keep closed and locked. And that's been great. We maintain a good relationship with our managed threat hunting people as well. If there is any issue, we get notified quickly about it. We also get notifications from the New Jersey Cybersecurity and Integration Cell when there's known issues out in the state. And that's great because they might see it in another county, and then I can immediately update, this list of IP addresses has been identified as malicious. I'm glad you told me before, I found out the hard way. Go in, proactively block them on our firewalls, and everything is good, right? So the state, it works very hard so that the counties and the municipalities don't have to, right? If they have the information that they can get us early, they do everything they can to get it to us. And then when we see something, cross our lines, when we're alerted by an issue by, say, managed threat hunting, we go bring that same information to the cybersecurity cell, and they then distribute it to the municipality. So it's a good way to have all of us working together. Again, where budgets are tight, a lot of us can't afford to have, 5 technicians sitting at desks just reviewing logs as they come in, right? But we do have other tools that we can do that with.
Yeah, I like how you were saying that there's a policy that's working for you, and I was just kind of curious about legislation itself. It seems that when the legislation, no secret, is often years behind the capabilities of technology, or when legislation addresses it anyway. But the private sector, whenever there seems to be a change in legislature, the legislating of technology, I should say, the private sector often gets like a grace period, and then, it says you have to comply by XYZ date. And it seems like you guys in the public sector is like, you have to comply by yesterday, based on something that's passed. Would you agree to that? And how challenging can that be?
So that can be one of my least favorite expressions, that is unfunded mandate, right? It's basically like, okay, guess what? Now all county buildings have to be gold plated, and we're giving you no money to do it. Go. It's got to be done in a week.
Right.
So it's stuff like that. It can be difficult. Here in Passaic, we have administration has been great. If they're approached, and there was, for example, an issue with the state came out with a mandate about certain Chinese camera companies, right? Mm-hmm. Very similar to the McCain Act. And it's not funded. I was told I'm not allowed to have these devices anymore. What am I going to get to replace them with? Nobody has provided me anything, right? So the county has been great as far as when security is on the line. And I'm not going to say money is no object, but when security is on the line, justifying the expense is a lot easier. Right. Because we hold the personal identifiable information that we have is, I think I've used this illustration with you before, Ed. We love bagels in Jersey, right? That's Absolutely. That gooey, soft center that everybody loves, and so it's nice and warm, and everybody goes for that, right? So we hold that very valuable, but we also want to make sure our bagel's crusty and nobody can get to it.
Right. And we don't, I mean, lenders is not even an option.
No,
right?
Ed, please, I'm going to get off the call now.
I didn't mean to insult you.
My goodness, what's wrong with you, Ed?
So we talked about all the different all the different things that you're supporting, and which brings me to staffing. So a lot of technology leaders are facing some serious, talent shortages, and they often have to compete, and sometimes they can offer, big paychecks or perks, to build a team. What's it like finding good IT talent for Passaic County, and with all the things that you have to do, what are the skills that you're hiring for at this point?
Yeah, we're in a unique situation in that it's hard to find guys who are jack of all trades,
Right.
right? But when you're running county government, when you're running any government, you need that, right? My background before I came to Passaic County, I was with a neighboring county for 13 years, right? I was the director of IT for a division of that government. The thing is, Ed, I was only director of IT because they asked me what title I wanted, and I was the only guy in the department, right? So who would not go for director? Come on, I'm
Absolutely.
El Presidente of IT here. That's me. That's what I do. So that it's hard to find that today because then you have the security way of thinking. Then you have maybe I just want a guy to manage Active Directory, email 365 kind of thing, right? Like
Hmm.
so, but I've been fortunate in that all of my guys, they attack problems, like a Doberman, and it's great to watch. Um, but again, it's hard to find today, Ed, because
Yeah.
they don't teach that in schools. You have to learn how to do everything. Well, I don't want to do that. Who wants to do that, right? The other challenge that we face is you have to be someone who can do everything, but I'm not going to pay you all of those things combined, right? That's not no.
Right.
Government is never a leader when it comes to payroll, right? So it's hard to find guys know who want to work with you when you approach that, right?
Right.
The benefit of working government is you'll start on say a Monday, you'll be hired on Monday, and then you'll retire 35 years later, right? You're in it for the long haul,
Right.
and the raises that come along and all that stuff. But honestly, Ed, a lot of people don't want that anymore. They just don't. They just don't care. It's if you're in a position for 2 years, what's wrong with you? Why are you still there? You know, it's it's hard to find. So we try to make it we try to make it a fun place to work. We actually do, which is we might every once in a while have some video games that get played here in the office. We once in a while might pull out a board game or two. You know, um,
I think you have
just
to be ready to support esports solutions,
yeah,
because you're going to get called upon. So,
yes, you're right, right. And I don't even want to talk about that, Ed. Please.
well, and we have our tenure at SHI is kind of, if you stay for 7 years, you'll probably be here for 20. And hopefully that's some of what you're talking about too. If you can get to a certain inflection point, then like great, like now you're part of the team, which is and there's some great benefits that come with that, long term, which is great. Um, but one thing in terms of like about also with staffing is that you're in this particular position, you're helping users really define their goals and can be very wide ranging. So I'd imagine for somebody early in the IT career, like you have to have that business understanding too, and like how one thing's affecting another, right?
Yeah, and the knowing how one thing is affecting another important, right? Like you have a network issue might cause any one of a number of problems, right?
Right.
But it's also difficult to find because a lot of the skills that we have to have in government IT will never be used in private sector IT, right?
Mm,
Remember what I said, we're a step behind.
right.
We have some systems in place here that have been in place for 20 years, right? That we have guys coming out of school and I have to show them how to use a system that's 20 years old,
Mm,
and it's getting over that hump in the beginning, like it's I have to show you how to use this system. You're never going to use this anywhere else, right?
right.
And now you're the guy who owns this system. So please, please, please don't leave me.
So first you turn that crank on the side, right? And then
Exactly.
yeah, got it. These last few years have been extremely hard and interesting for all IT leaders, but I'd imagine it was particularly so in local government. Can you walk us through some of the biggest challenges and achievements you saw take place during the pandemic? Because so much of it had to be done locally. There was no other way to respond, and that comes to you guys. Are there things that you look back on and say, boy, that was pretty cool or pretty challenging or
There,
both?
there actually there was quite a bit. One meeting I will never forget is just as COVID had started, we had a department head meeting here in the county, and the county administrator asked the department heads on the spot, tell me how many laptops you need in order to continue county operations.
Wow.
On the spot, asked them. Okay, 250 laptops. Ed, I had 12.
Wow.
Right. So, it was, yeah. Good luck spreading those 12 out. There was no VDI solution even thought of here in the county at that time. Those are not, your virtual desktop is not something that you can roll out in an afternoon,
Right.
So like that was a stressful week, I would say, because we all kind of, where are we going to get, especially with supply chain issues, where am I going to get 250 laptops from? That's,
Yep.
oh my God.
Yep.
Right. And we did some things. We were able to find Chromebooks were easy to find at the time. So we found some Chromebooks and we did some funky remote desktop stuff, because the problem was you had to keep it secure, right? You couldn't just, you don't want to punch gaps in your security your firewall. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
to allow people to function that you're then going to regret 2 weeks later when they're discovered and game over, right?
Right.
So that was tough, Ed, but we were able to. And I'm gonna plug SHI here. Hope that's okay.
That's
SHI
fine.
worked with us and Dell very hard to get us the laptops we needed. They did it, and it was great, Ed. And we got the laptops in. How are we going to deploy them?
Right.
Because we're in lockdown. Nobody can come out of the county building. I'm not going to their house. You must be crazy. How am I going to deploy all these? And it took us, Ed. We had these 250 laptops in. Probably took us about 3 months to deploy these laptops properly. But we were able to upgrade our VPN access to have enough capacity to support all these users. Because remember what I said before, Ed, that remote access is not something that Passaic County ever did. Right. So how are we going to do this?
But that was the need. You needed testing centers. I don't know if you had drive-through in Passaic or not, but like you were literally, equipping places that had not had computers there before, right?
Yeah. And is it okay if I keep going for all the things that I'm proud of that we accomplished?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going then. So another thing we were able to do is we have every other week we have commissioner meetings, right, that are open to the public. And can't do that anymore. Nobody's allowed in the building.
Right.
What are we gonna do? SHI alerted me to free WebEx licensing that was available that we could use for these commissioner meetings. And Ed, we had that lit up. We had our WebEx, and this is something I'm really proud of. Government, again, doesn't move very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But from when we purchased the WebEx licensing to the first commissioner meeting using WebEx was about a week, right? And that's government moving at breakneck speed, right? It was insane that we got it done so quickly. And then we had all the county users on WebEx, and much to our users' credit, they picked up how to use it, right? And they were using it without us showing them how. A member in the department would figure out how to do something and email other members of the department to show them how to use these new tools that were available to them. It was great to see because it was here in Passaic County. I can't speak for everybody, but many of our employees were just focused on getting the job done.
Right.
Not like, I'm getting paid to stay at home, so here I am. I'm going to put my feet up, right? No, they actually wanted to get their job done, which was great. And it was, I never thought I'd experience that in county government, but I was able to. It was pretty awesome.
And I mean, you guys are living in the communities where you're working and where you're supporting. Like, have you ever been out and about and just overheard somebody talking about an initiative and be like, yeah, that was ours,
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, specifically the commissioner meetings.
Yep.
because out and about, and or even talking to other IT directors in municipalities, and we remote meetings. They were a nightmare. We fired them up on another streaming platform, and we were bombed. I'm not going to name the streaming platform, but I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about here, Ed.
Yep.
People just coming in, interrupting our meetings. Where do you get? That it's we fixed that, because we're using WebEx. That's great. We saw the county meeting, and how do you guys do that? It's a feather in our cap, Ed, and we need some of those sometimes.
Don't we all? So I'm looking at the clock on the wall. We've been talking with Director of Information Technology in Passaic County, Micah Hassinger. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and insights with us. I know that there are literally thousands of other people across the country in counties and state government who are really going to be interested in and kind of really relate to what you're saying today. So I really thank you for that. And as to everybody else, thanks everybody who joined us on YouTube or on the audio podcast. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Innovation Heroes wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back with another inspiring hero in 2 weeks. Until then, I'm your host, Ed McNamara. This is Innovation Heroes. Micah, thanks again.
You bet, Ed.
Innovation Heroes is a production of SHI. See how we can help your business solve what's next with stress-free, scalable solutions that you and your people will love. Visit shi.com/solvewhat'snext today.